The church was packed. The soft hum of the organ filled the air as elegantly dressed guests whispered among themselves, eagerly waiting for the ceremony to begin. Candles flickered along the grand aisle, casting a warm glow over the scene. At the front of the church, standing proudly in his black tuxedo, was Daniel Carter, a successful businessman in his early 40s. Today was supposed to be the happiest day of his life. He was moments away from marrying Isabella Green, a stunning woman with an air of sophistication, someone he had fallen deeply in love with over the past year. But as he adjusted his cufflinks, something felt off. His 12-year-old son, Ethan, stood quietly beside him as the best man. Unlike the excited guests, he seemed tense, shifting uncomfortably, gripping his hands together. Daniel leaned down slightly, whispering, "Nervous, bud?" Ethan hesitated. He wanted to speak. He needed to speak, but the weight of his discovery made his chest feel tight. He had spent days debating whether or not to tell his father the truth, but now, standing here, moments before the vows, he knew he couldn't stay silent. The wedding march started. All heads turned as Isabella entered, gliding down the aisle in an elegant white dress. Guests gasped at her beauty. Daniel smiled, momentarily pushing aside the strange feeling that had been lingering. But just as the officiant cleared his throat to begin, Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Stop!" he shouted, his voice breaking through the ceremony like a thunderclap. The room fell silent. Daniel's brow furrowed as he turned to his son. "Ethan, what are you doing?" Isabella's smile faltered, her grip tightening around her bouquet. "Sweetheart, what's wrong?" she asked, her voice laced with forced sweetness. Ethan turned to face his father, his voice shaking. "Dad, she's lying to you. She's not who you think she is." A murmur rippled through the guests. Eyes darted between the boy and the bride. Confusion thickened the air. Daniel frowned. "Ethan, what are you talking about?" Ethan swallowed hard. "I heard her talking on the phone last night. She doesn't love you, Dad. She's been planning to take your money and leave. She even said—" He hesitated, glancing at Isabella, whose face had turned pale. "She already has a husband." Gasps echoed across the church. Daniel's face drained of color. "Ethan, that's a serious accusation." Isabella forced a laugh, though there was a sharpness to it. "Daniel, this is absurd. He's just a child. He doesn't understand what he heard." But Ethan wasn't backing down. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "I recorded everything," he said firmly. The tension in the room became suffocating. Daniel took the phone with shaky hands and pressed play. Through the small speaker, Isabella's voice rang out clearly. "After the wedding, we'll move the money quietly. He won't suspect a thing. Don't worry about my other husband. He's taken care of." The guests erupted in shocked whispers. Isabella's mask of calm cracked. "This is ridiculous. It's not what it sounds like," she snapped, stepping forward. But Daniel had already taken a step back, his hands trembling. His world was crumbling right before his eyes. Then without a word, he reached for his phone and dialed 911. "Yes, I need to report fraud, and possibly something worse." Isabella's eyes darted toward the door. Her breathing quickened. Then she ran. But before she could make it to the exit, two of Daniel's groomsmen, both former military, stepped in her way, blocking her escape. Within minutes, the sound of sirens wailed in the distance. The doors burst open as police officers stormed in. "Isabella Green," one officer called. "You're under arrest." Tears welled up in Daniel's eyes as he turned to his son, still shaken. "How did you know?" Ethan shrugged, his voice small but steady. "I just wanted to protect you, Dad, like you always protect me." A lump formed in Daniel's throat. He pulled his son into a tight embrace, whispering, "You saved me, buddy." As Isabella was led away in handcuffs, the reality of what had nearly happened sank in. Daniel turned to his guests, who were still frozen in disbelief. He straightened his tie, took a deep breath, and addressed them with a small smile. "Well, I guess there won't be a wedding today. A ripple of awkward laughter spread through the crowd. But in Daniel's heart, there was no regret, only relief. Because sometimes the people who love you the most see what you refuse to. And Ethan had just saved his father from the biggest mistake of his life. If this story shocked you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping real-life lessons.